done. The Clippers beat Golden State 124-119 in overtime Sunday to clinch the fifth seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The Clippers will play Denver in the first round. Game 1 in the best-of-7 series is Saturday at Denver. James Harden led the Clippers with 39 points and 10 assists, 33 points for Kawhi Leonard in 47 minutes. Folks, let me say this. If Kawhi Leonard can avoid any issues with his right knee, the Clippers are going to make some serious noise in the playoffs. Sunday's win was the Clippers' 8th in a row. They are 18-3 since March 5th. The Clippers are playing like they're ready for the postseason. The Lakers secured the number 3 seed in the Western Conference. Their first-round opponent is Minnesota. Game 1 of their best-of-7 series is Saturday at Crypto.com. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less, of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
What is the world coming to? Seems like everyone is running from the truth. We just stand up and fight, walk into the night. We're the people, we can do it if we try. I know we can do it. Somebody ask me, why do we have to go through it? It's just the test of our faith. But we're living day to day. We don't know where, we don't know when. But he's coming back again. Oh, yes, he is. It's late in the evening. Oh, Lord, it's time for you to return. Oh, Lord, me. I know. Time to make a change.
Oh, yeah. It's that time to make that change. Welcome to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. We count it all joy that you are here with us on this particular day. The last time Doc and I were together, we were rocking in Harlem. Doc, we had such a good time. You know, Doc, we decided that today we were going to take on a very serious issue and take time to have the conversation, and hopefully our parts of our audience who they always engage with us, I'm sure they will have a lot to say. And that is the young football star, Kyrene Lacy, who committed suicide. And this is heartbreaking on so many levels, but I think his story is bringing back to national prominence the whole debate or conversation about suicide, how people are feeling when they reach that kind of breaking point to be able to take one's life. And so just hearing his story just made me kind of feel all types of ways, and just thinking about his family, thinking about everybody that's involved. And one of the things that I said on social media that, you know, there is definitely something deeply disturbing happening with young men's mental health, but especially Black men. Suicide is a permanent answer to an extremely painful problem that can be fixed, but there must be avenues for repair. And I know that Mr. Lacy's story is a little more complicated than what I'm laying out right now. We will get into all of those details. But when somebody gets to the point that they feel like they need to take their own life, that is very serious. And this society does not provide the necessary supports for people who are feeling that way, just across the board. And then the whole notion of what it means to be a man in society, you know, we got to talk about that as well. All of these things are confounding, they are complex, yet here we are. So before we dig any deeper, the doctor is certainly in the house. Doc, what is on your heart, your soul, and your mind?
Well, I was thinking about the wonderful time we spent with you in Harlem here.
Yeah.
And the joy and sense of buoyancy and vitality, vibrancy, and those are the very things that are countervailing forces against despair, against despondency, against enchantment, against this. And when we think of the young brothers, black brothers especially, who are committing escalating levels of suicide, historically, black people and black men have committed suicide less so than other portions of the population. That is no longer the case.
That's right.
No longer the case. Now, when I wrote Matters 32 years ago and wrote that essay called Nihilism in the Black Community, Nihilism in Black America, I was talking about nihilism defined as what? Experiences of meaninglessness, experience
Mm-hmm.
lovelessness, experiences of touchlessness, of grinlessness, of hopelessness. That's what leads toward overwhelming despair and then some choosing to kill. And
Yeah.
that's the spiritual emptiness of moral vacuity, a feeling as if there's no reason to go on. And in our market-driven, market-soaked society, it's hard for people to gain armor, not just tied to the 6th chapter of Ephesians, but these structures, meaning and value and feeling that convince people to live on. Once those structures of feeling and value and meaning get thin, once the armor gets so thin, then the despair becomes overwhelming. And you're absolutely right. We need so much more focus on mental health in the country, and especially the mental health of black people, and especially the mental health of black men and young black men. No doubt about it. But my larger point is that it is in some ways a result of a culture that is so tied to forms of idolatry, the worship of money, the worship of status, the worship of position, that feels as if one can find meaning only in having money. One can find meaning only in gaining some grand status. And if you don't, you feel as if all your fault. It's all on you. Now, personal responsibility is important, but every exercise of personal responsibility is against a larger context. And of course, you got white supremacy coming at black folk, less beautiful, less intelligent, inferior to others. That's the lie that white supremacy tells people, including young black men. But then you got the issue of gender, which is very important. The young brothers tend to look at models, and too often those models are not models of high integrity and character.
That's
They're
right.
sparkling spectacle and big money. And so there's a spiritual crisis here that is so deep, and it cuts across heart, minds, and souls and bodies. And when I read about these increasing rates of young black brothers killing themselves, I think of that nihilistic threat that we were talking about much more publicly in the 90s that we don't talk about enough 32 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, Doc. I mean, it's deep. I'm feeling really heavy and deep, and hopefully, the attention that is being paid to Mr. Lacey and some of the reasons involved, or what people speculate why he would want to take his life, that it will help others. That we will pay attention to this in deeper ways and never stop. You can never stop paying attention to people's sense of despair and helplessness and hopelessness. We always should be paying attention and having the types of experts out there and around. And when people sometimes feel like they don't even have anybody to turn to or to talk to, that's a heavy situation to be in. So when the doc and I come forward, we will continue this conversation about suicide rates, about black men and suicide, males in general in suicide, and what can be done. You are listening to Truth Time.
Speaking truth to power and to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving black oasis just 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. The first 100 attendees will receive a complimentary air purifier. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Attention. If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, again, counting it all joy that we are here together. Dr. West and I are tackling a very sad, hard on the feelings subject today. We're talking about suicide, especially that of Black males. The suicide rate among Black men has increased over the years, outpacing that of white males. And not saying that, you know, it's always harsh when anybody commits suicide, but when you see rates go up like this, it calls into question. And like you and I had talked before about, you know, how Black people have been treated in this country. It's so wonder that the suicide rates among Black men and just Black people in general were not higher than what they were. It definitely speaks to a type of resiliency within the Black community, but even the strong needs to be looked out for from time to time. It is just kind of, to me, it's kind of an irony, you know, in a way, and as sad and tragic as this is an opportunity for us to have this kind of conversation. Mr. Lacy was 24 years old. He played for LSU. He was going to be in the draft, you know, so from all appearances, the future was very bright for him. He was involved in a car accident where he was charged with the death of a 78-year-old, had not went to court yet. As a matter of fact, I believe court was going to happen today. That car accident happened at some point last year. This year, he was going to be going to court. We don't have all the details as to why he would take his life, but we can be certain that maybe not certain, but maybe, let me back up, maybe what he was going through within the court system may have played a role in his decision to take his life. And again, suicide is such a permanent remedy, if you will, for situations in our life that may be very temporary.
No, that's real. I think one of the great paradoxes of Black life, when you think of Black people in 2025 versus Black people in 1955, was that we have more prosperity today, but we have less joy. We got more access to material things, upward mobility, Black middle class, living where you want to live, drink whatever water in any faucet you want to drink, and go to any restaurant you want. But it's not clear whether we have more love.
Yeah.
You see it in the music, you see it in family life, you see it in the life of communities, you see it in the stronger churches as opposed to the more market-driven mega churches today. When joy is a fruit of love, and you could be as broke as the 10 Commandments financially and still have much more joy than a billionaire.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
been the Black people in terms of the best of our spiritual genius, the best of our artistic genius, the best of our moral genius. But once you lose out on more and more love and you miss out on more and more joy, then you just have a joyless quest for insatiable pleasures and possessions.
Yeah.
And why people kill themselves is, in fact, there's just not enough love and not enough joy.
Yeah, that hits it, Doc. I mean, if people feel that love, I mean, it is the ultimate hopelessness. I mean, it is the ultimate, and that is so true. And that is a good question, or I mean, you didn't pose it as a question, but do we have as much love and joy as we had when we had less access to opportunities in this country? It seems like the more we are gaining materially, the less love and joy we have. And I love how when you opened up that the experiences of hopelessness, spiritual emptiness, hard to strengthen the armor. You got so much coming at you, and even the 24-hour news cycle, to me, is something wrong with that as well. I think we should be informed but not inundated. How can you stay informed but not inundated? And the stuff is on all day long, and unless you turn it off, you can succumb to the messages being put out there. And a lot of these messages are not good for our soul. Doc, I want to give some framing for our audience. So, Kyrene Lacy, he was found dead on Saturday night in Houston. He died in an apparent suicide in his car while being pursued by authorities, according to the Harris County Sheriff's report released on Sunday. According to Harris County authorities, police responded to a call from a female family member who said Lacy had discharged a firearm into the ground during a verbal argument late Saturday night. When they arrived on the scene, they learned that the suspect, Lacy, had fled in a vehicle. Authorities say they pursued Lacy, and that pursuit ended when he crashed. They say that when officers approached the vehicle to extract Lacy, he had died from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was only 24 years old. As I said, he was involved in a car accident where it had been determined that he was at fault, and the 78-year-old died. In a social media post Sunday, Lacy's father, Kennedy Lacy, urged parents to check on their children's mental health from an early age. And so, Doc, I want to rest right there. And this reporting is coming from ESPN. There are lots of news reports out there. What Lacy's father said, Mr. Lacy, Senior Lacy, I mean, he wasn't a junior, but elder Lacy, the father, urging parents to check on their children's mental health. And I would say that, Doc, at any age ain't nothing but a number when it comes to your children. That is forever. Like this connection to your babies is forever, and they will always be our babies. And there's something kind of in the male dynamic in this country. This is not true in all countries, where we don't necessarily hug. When you said emptiness of touch, it's just something about, our kids turn into adults And then all of a sudden they're not supposed to be hugged and checked on. I don't care. My baby 34. And I still every day we texting or talking or putting heart emojis. Cause I never will let my baby always be my baby. He'll never be growner than me, out of my sight. And he is in a hard, profession. He is in law enforcement. And so I always want to know that he's doing okay. And I always want him to know that he will always be my baby. And even though he's a man of very few words, mamas know. And I just check in on him all the time. But back to my point about affection. We sometimes we tend not to give our grown children the affection that they deserve and that they need, but especially boys.
Especially the young brothers. That's very, very true. And it's so crucial because if justice is what love looks like in public, tenderness is what love feels like in private. Historically, we black folk have been a very, very gentle and tender people in terms of ensuring that people got the love messages. And there's a lot of different ways of doing it. Everybody got their own style and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But the lack of tenderness, the relative lack of gentleness, the relative lack of kindness to each other, both within families, but also in communities. Because, the reality is that you could be the best mama and the best daddy in the whole wide world, and the larger society will still devour your child.
True that.
The influences of the larger society is so strong that all the love in the world, all the care and all the gentleness in the world to your own kids, you can't just build a fence around them. They're going to interact with larger forces in the society. And the dominant forces in the society are market forces, which are buying, selling, making, and mending, and making money, and more just getting over by any means. And that does not generate a tenderness and a kindness and a sweetness. No, it just doesn't. So that what you say is so very important, and what our dear brother, the father, the beloved father, we're pulling for him and pushing for him and praying for him. What he so true. But when you live in a larger decadent society, such a sick country, so kids are exposed to gangster models every day, thuggish models every day, especially the spiritual wickedness in high places. They're the ones who on TV the most.
Yeah.
And when some of the most influential persons as to how to be successful, how to be rich, how to be a billionaire, how to be the most popular, the level of spiritual pathology becomes pervasive. And I think one of the reasons why black folk in the 1950s were much more financially broke, but much more culturally rich, is because their heroes they looked to were persons much more of integrity.
Yeah, amen. And as a community, we had, to me, more control over who we determined was our heroes and sheroes, because we didn't have to compete with social media, and all those messages. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother used to say, and certainly she didn't live to see all this technology that we have today, but she would say, we're becoming weaker and wiser. And I understand what she was saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
More access. Again, going back to Mr. Kenny Lacey, he said our lives have changed forever, and this will never be okay. But God needed my baby more than he was needed here. This has to be the biggest pill our family has had to swallow, but I know the love and compassion in our families will get us through. It's out of the natural order of things, Doc. Parents should not be bearing their children if Mother Nature goes chronologically, the way we as human beings, the cycle of life usually goes. It is out of the natural order of things for parents to be bearing their children. Children should be bearing their parents.
But I am touched by the deep love and the resiliency in the poetry of the Father.
Yeah.
Those words are very, very powerful lyrical words. In the immediate death of one's own child. And that bodes well in terms of how they will be able to wrestle with this and handle this and come to terms with this. And as you can, this is something that is happening across the country. And of course, we know it happens across color, class, and region boundary. But we're zeroing in right now on this particular precious child and the ways in which it's connected to Black boys and Black men in a deeply racist America.
Yeah, deeply racist America. I mean, all that Black families over the decades have had to endure, have had to see. And I know, in some Black communities, the desire to both love and like keep our children, the saying, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. I know I'm kind of going off track a little bit here and what we're talking about, but it was, if we don't handle you, they will handle you out there, and they won't love you out there. And what they meant was law enforcement, the white world, the white power structure, the white supremacy of the world will kill our babies. And so we got to make sure we're very strict on them, so that we, in a way, to try to protect their lives. So again, Black people have an extra burden that other people don't necessarily carry. Now, suicide, again, Doc, as you and I both laying out, among any population is bad. When somebody gets that desperate and they don't feel like they got anywhere to turn to or anywhere out, and we got to be concerned about that. Suicide affects all of us, each and every one of us. But as we are talking about the suicide rates among Black men in particular, how they have increased over the years, it is something that our community and the collective community has got to grapple with. When you become that despondent, or that, I want to use the word desperate, that's not the word, but despair. I mean, you said it, Doc. When you feel in that level of despair, it begs the question of what else could have been done to make that person feel as though they could turn to somebody.
That's very real. And we should not forget, Martin Luther King Jr. tried to commit suicide when he was a young boy, when his grandmother died and jumped off the top of the roof, and he was nothing but the Lord allowed him to survive. The great James Baldwin, of course, tried to commit suicide a couple of times as an adult.
Yeah.
These are things that happen to a number of people who we often forget that they had reached that point in their lives, and the fact that they were able to work through it and not die.
Yeah.
Something that we should never, ever downplay or forget, because all of us have low moments.
We do. Even, my sweetie always says, even the strong people got to check on the strong. When we come forward, Dr. West and I will continue this conversation about suicide rates among Black men. You are listening to Truth Time.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not driving you, man.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Former Louisiana State University wide receiver Kyron Lacey, a 24-year-old Black man, died by suicide after a police chase in Houston. Deputies say he fired a gun during an argument, fled, and shot himself after crashing. He had a standout 2023 season at LSU. Virginia Military Institute's board will meet this week to elect a new president after John Adams resigned. 2 members also stepped down after the board voted not to renew Cedric Wynn's contract, BMI's first Black superintendent known for promoting inclusion. The White House has replaced a portrait of former President Barack Obama at the Grand Staircase with a painting of President Trump raising his fist after last summer's assassination attempt. Officials say Obama's portrait is still displayed elsewhere in the White House. And it's Black Maternal Health Week, spotlighting the fact that Black women are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related issues. The week, led by the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, pushes for better care and fewer disparities. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Southern California Edison reminds you that downed wires are dangerous. Never approach or touch a downed wire or anything in contact with it. Stay away and call 911. Learn more at sce.com/stay safe.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
North Carolina A&T University was the site for the first class of the Black Sports Writers Hall of Fame. The event on the HBCU campus was Sunday in Greensboro, North Carolina. 3 honorees were inducted. Claire Smith, the first female beat writer to cover a team in Major League Baseball. Claire covered baseball and the Yankees for the New York Times for 47 years. Bill Rhoden, a graduate of HBCU Morgan State, was a longtime columnist for the New York Times and now writes for ESPN. Joining Smith and Rhoden is Michael Wilbon, a longtime columnist for the Washington Post and now one of the premier voices at ESPN with his popular show, Pardon the Interruption. Congrats to Smith, Rhoden, and Wilbon for being the first inductees in the Black Sports Writers Hall of Fame. The Dodgers are 3-6 since starting the season 8-0. They dropped to third place in the NL West Division for the first time since June 18, 2023. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights. Hey, we all got rights.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Joe Montaigne. Let's talk about veteran homelessness, because it's not just a housing issue, it's a human issue. Right now, we need LA property owners to open their doors and give veterans a safe place to call home. With guaranteed rent and dedicated support, you can be part of the solution. Learn how you can help. Email houseurourvets@lacity.org.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Well, thank you so much for coming forward with us. If you are just joining the show, welcome. Now, this Wednesday, April 16th, is day 100 since the wildfires erupted in Altadena. We're asking you to join us this week for our live nationally broadcast KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall as we commemorate this fateful day and celebrate the resilience of Altadenians and embrace this beloved Black community. We will be giving away air purifiers and $100 gift cards to survivors. So please come join us this Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. for our town hall, the Altadena / Eaton Fire 100 Days and Counting. Now, this event is free, but you must register. And so you will find all of the pertinent information and all the details about the town hall. All you have to do is register at kbla1580.com. Again, that's kbla1580.com. 100 days and counting. Doc, so happy. You know, KBLA does a lot for the community, and just big ups to Brother Smiley and the crew and other people who are working on making sure that this community is not forgotten. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Doc, I want to go into, as we usually do.
I was thinking it was Tuesday. They're celebrating 100 years, but the event itself, I think, is Tuesday night.
It's Tuesday. Okay. I thought it was on a Wednesday night for KBLA.
You're absolutely right about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday, though, that they're going to be coming together. And then they're to see whether they win this big award, because they're on the short list for this big climate justice. But does it say on there on your thing?
Yeah, Doc, for what the station is hosting, it's on Wednesday.
Is that right?
The remembrance of.
Oh, I see. I thought the town hall was on Tuesday. I didn't know they're doing a remembrance on Wednesday, but that's cool.
Okay, town hall. Well, you know, Doc, now you got me. Hey, let me make sure I'm giving the right information. Hold on, and we'll get to our. So it says this Wednesday, April 16th, is day 100 since the wildfires erupted in Altadena.
Right.
And I think that is the day for the town hall. I'm pretty sure. So yeah.
No, I corrected then. I stand correct.
No, that's okay. Look, we look, we do this in real time. We make sure each other is right. So you check your notes and I'll check mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we rolling. So, but anyway, people can go to kbla1580.com. Again, that's kbla1580.com. They're going to be giving away air purifiers and $100 gift cards, and really just making sure that this Black community is not forgotten. And that is indeed a beautiful thing. If Smiley and company were not doing it, I don't know who would, Doc. So I'm so glad that he's doing this.
They serving the people just like we trying to serve the people too.
Yeah, absolutely. So proud to be on KBLA. Doc, going to our chat, we got Adam Milan. This is a great addition to the lineup. Love this show, love this station. We agree with you, Adam. We love this show too, and we definitely love this station. Thank you so much. Morris Phillips, where my people, and also suicide ? Don't forget the contemporary white farmer. Yeah, and thank you, American Terror. So Morris Phillips is putting some sarcasm on that. Yeah, suicide rates among farmers have increased as well. The type of, again, Doc, it goes back to what you said in the opening, a sense of desperation, and that impact is communal. It really is. We have Miles Langston. What can young people practice to help their mental health? Doc, what can young people practice to protect their mental health?
Well, I think the most important thing is to cultivate highly the capacity to love and relate of high quality, to learn how to treat people right and learn how to receive. So the giving and receiving of love is the most fundamental counterforce against suicide. That's I'm not a professional, though. I mean, I'm married to a professional. So
I was going to say, we need to get Dr. Anahita West in here on this one, the psychologist. But
complex and rich analysis and wisdom. But just looking at it from my street point of view, that it just seems to me that love is the best antidote to despair. And if this fundamental motivation for suicide, then love, in fact, to that. Now, granted, I mean, when we talk about suicide, we're talking about a particular kind of death. There's also a spiritual death. There's a mental death. There's a spiritual death. There's different forms of death, even when you are alive. And love is the best antidote for that.
Yeah. Love lifted me. That's a song we sing in the Christian tradition. When nothing else would help. Love lifted me. Yeah, people need to know that they're loved. It doesn't take away all their problems in an immediate way, but it gives people the strength to keep pushing.
Yes.
Man, and that's what we're talking about. We got Blessed Peacemaker in the house. Greetings, beautiful Truth Time family. Oh man, Joe Cuts did not know this. Miles Langston, we need 360 degree of community, social, economic, and political. I totally agree with that. And I think Joe was referring to, Doc, when you had mentioned that Dr. King had pondered a suicide and also Brother James Baldwin. Yeah.
Off when Jenny, his grandmama, died. He thought he was responsible for that because he didn't go with his grandmother to a particular event. So he felt a certain deep guilt and jumped off that roof. Now he was very, very young. So he made suicide much later in life. But we're talking about executing and a suicide attempt. And thank God it didn't go through.
Yeah, thank God it did not go through. We got Ben Frank, you know, just emojis, 100% prayer, all power to the people. Blessed Peacemaker coming up again, working in Africa. We've been seeing the sudden culturally rare suicide increase in Kenya. Neoliberal capitalism making survival more and more difficult as US-backed Ruto wrecks the country and the globe. Wow.
And that organized greed and weaponized hatred is everywhere.
Everywhere, Doc.
Europe,
everywhere.
America.
Yeah.
We've got to be collective in our solidarity. I was thinking right now of the family of Brother Garcia, who's in that prison in El Salvador, and both the president and the president of El Salvador have said what? They have no interest in getting him out, but the Supreme Court said do it. They don't care.
All 9 of them. So that should tell you something. All 9 of them, a court that is led or the majority is conservative. You got all 9 of them come to grips. I'm telling you something, we are going to have a constitutional crisis here on our hands if they don't comply. And the Supreme Court should hold them in contempt and start jailing some of these folks like they would do the regular citizens, the everyday people of this side. He could never tell the Supreme Court of the United States of America what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. I mean, this is fascism, authoritarianism. How dare they can't even say nothing about Putin, can't say nothing about leaders in authoritarian countries anymore.
The gangsters are in the saddle and they ride, but they can't ride forever.
Can't ride forever, Doc. Isn't that the truth? Yes. Oh my God, they cannot. Ben Frank, respect Dr. West and Miss Turner, salutes. And just going on and on and on. Just so much love. Sister Selena's in the house. So glad that you are here. And yeah, Sister Shayla's in the house. Good day, all. Enjoying the show today. Working on my listening skills. And then the one and only Dr. Anahita West, KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall, the Anahita Easton Fire 100 Days and Counting on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Go ahead on, Dr. Anahita West. She's letting us know and giving us the address. When we come forward, we will continue this.
I love her for it.
Yo, beloved, yeah, she jumped right in there. When we come forward, we will continue this deep and serious conversation about suicide and particularly suicide rates among Black men on the rise.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Listen up, Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. So let's do it again and get vaccinated. We're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults under 50. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit vaxassist.com to schedule. Sponsored by Pfizer.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent. And the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key, my privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got right.
Hey, we all got right. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Truth crushed to earth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, it most certainly will rise again. So Dr. West and I are tackling the serious subject of suicide, especially the increase in suicide rates among young Black men. As we know, former LSU receiver Kyrene Lacy was found dead Saturday night in Houston. Apparently a self-inflicted gun wound. His father has moved in and weighed in, as Dr. West laid out, in a very profound and touching way, given that family has to deal with burying their son. He was only 24 years old, and he was a part of the NFL draft. I mean, he was ranked number 6. Last December, he was accused of causing a crash that killed a 78-year-old man on December the 17th, and then fleeing the scene without rendering aid or calling authorities. On January the 12th, he turned himself in to authorities. He was jailed and then released on a $151,000 bail, according to police records. So all of this stuff, we're just giving the facts. It may be compounding influence on what happened. We don't know exactly why he felt the need to take his own life. Just some general stats. The suicide rate among Black adolescents is increasing faster than any other racial and ethnic group. From 2007 to 2020, the suicide rate rose by 144% among 10 to 17-year-olds who are Black. And that is coming from Johns Hopkins. Black adolescents are significantly less likely than their peers in other demographic groups to receive mental health care. This is due in part to systemic inequities, including racism and poverty, as well as deeply rooted stigma around mental health and well-founded cultural mistrust of the healthcare system. And that's the NIH and also the House Task Force. And Doc, we know these things to be true. We got the factual truth, we got anecdotal truth, we got lived truth. backing up these numbers. I want Black men in particular to know that they are loved, they are respected, and they are needed. That they don't hear that enough. They need to hear that as we try to protect ourselves as a community and fight systemic injustice. But it is startling. From 2007 to 2020, the suicide rate rose 144% among 10 to 17-year-olds who are Black, according to Johns Hopkins.
Just on that, just have a little silence on that, though. Those precious little brothers from 10 to 17 years old, reaching the point that they feel as if they have no reason. My God, my God. Well, that's a symptom of not enough love, not enough tenderness, too much ugliness, too much hatred coming at them, too much contempt coming at them. And as we know, it's just not coming from the vanilla side of town. We don't have enough love in the Black community. They haven't received enough love in their own Black context as well. But you still can never downplay racist assaults and racist dumbing down of Black music, for example. There once was a time where our music was much more rich and caring and nurturing. So you could go to the music, you were right on the edge of life's cliff. You know what I mean? Put on little Donny Hathaway. Well, Donny killed himself, of course. So that, I mean, he was wrestling and helping others. So he jumps off the top of Essex Hotel and commits suicide after working back together again with the one and only Roberta Flack, who just passed a natural death, who just died a natural death. But all of us have a death sentence in time and space.
We do, Doc. You just never know what anybody is going through on any given time. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't want to see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now. No more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Ow!
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Yes, you are. So today, Dr. West and I went deep in this is sad, like in a very serious way, talking about the suicide of Kyrie Lacey, 24-year-old LSU football player, was going to be drafted. He was the number 6 pick. He had a tragic situation happen in his life last year. Fast forward to this year, and he committed suicide on Saturday. His father has come out and gave a very eloquent response to what him and his family are going through. Our thoughts and prayers are with that family. And it just caused us to want to just take the time on our show today to talk about suicide overall and the increasing suicide rate among young Blacks, but especially young Black males, 144%. And a lot of that is steeped in systemic racism on top of just everyday life that people have to endure. And Doc, just people need to know that they are loved. We need universal health care, not to say that it would decrease suicide rates, but it would give the opportunity for mental health to be dealt with and people not fearing that they can't afford the money to have a therapist. And the taboo nature of therapy, in the Black community is something that we got to deal with, because I believe of all the other pressures that we go through, it was this whole, we not crazy on top of it. You can't talk your problems out. Just Black people have a lot of burdens to bear. And one expert was saying that combating European standards of beauty, especially with children of color, has always been a challenge in our community as well. And then we're thinking about some of the pressures around having name brand items and those kinds of things. So it's the typical things that young people will have to go through, but there are compounding factors when it comes to Black people, as with everything else in America, and especially compounding factors for our young Black boys and our Black men.
Black men. No, and I hate to remind all the time, we've got to shatter the taboo on mental health as a source of help to sustain people. That for too long, too many people think that going to mental health somehow is not a positive thing, that it can play and has played a very, very positive role in helping people sustain themselves through crisis and through catastrophe.
Yeah. And
as a great Benjamin Elijah Mays told me when I first met him, he said the very fact that Black people are still here after 400 years of such treatment is in itself a spiritual achievement, a psychological accomplishment. But if our tradition gets weaker and more feeble, we shall see even more suicide.
Well, the armor is getting thin, Doc, as you laid out. Black men. So for parents and people who deal with young people, please let them know that they are loved. Hug them, male or female. We're putting a little extra love out there for our young Black men. Hug them and let them know that they are needed, they are loved, and they are respected. You've been listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. We want you to live on purpose, live your purpose. And remember, titles are good, but purpose is better. Until next time.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica
was a longtime columnist for the New York Times and now writes for ESPN. Joining Smith and Roden is Michael Wilson, a longtime columnist for the Washington Post and now one of the premier voices at ESPN with his popular show, Pardon the Interruption. Congrats to Smith, Roden, and Wilbon for being the first inductees in the Black Sports Writers Hall of Fame. The Dodgers are 3-6 since starting the season 8-0. They dropped to third place in the NL West Division for the first time since June 18, 2023. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one.